so this morning, I didn't get crap this morning. Well, I did get a lot of dreams and stuff, but not very good dreams. But yesterday, I was asking Joel to bring my friend Angie to, one of my OBEs lucid dreams, and then I was asking to go to England again, and some other things or whatever. And so, oh shit, I forgot to write down that, not Zimbabwe, that Cambodia, oh shit, I forgot to write that one down. Okay, so I'll talk about that one real quick. That was like 3 days ago, and then yesterday I had the 3 kind of good ones, OBEs lucid dreams, and this morning I just got dreams. I did get a bunch of dreams, but they were kind of crappy, and I can't even remember them, but I don't really care because I know they were crappy. I vaguely remember one, or it may have been 2 days ago, but 2 days ago, what was I asking too? I was asking Cambodia, let's see, and I was telling Joel to take me to some places, but I can't remember. I think Italy and stuff like that, because I was watching Create TV, and that guy happened to be in Cambodia/Vietnam. So in the scenario, Joel took me to he took me to Cambodia, where I ate Taiwanese food. It was kind of funny. Now, I've been to Cambodia before under OBEs lucid dream, and that one was much better than this experience I had 3 days ago. But because lately they've just been giving me more like C+ experiences instead of A- experiences. But yeah, okay. So 3 days ago or 2 days ago, I was in Cambodia, and I was walking around this like restaurant, and there was there's a woman. There was a woman cook and kitchen worker, and then there was a man. He seemed like he was the owner, and they both looked very, Asian-like. So I'm sure they were, Cambodian or whatever. And so basically, and it was a long experience, but it was basically all in this restaurant. And then finally, I was just kind of walking around, observing. Like I say, I was in Cambodia, but I was eating Taiwanese food, and that was kind of funny. That was very clear. Okay, so anyway, I was walking around Cambodia in this restaurant. I can't remember if I because like I say, these experiences they've been giving me were like C+, C-. I can't remember if I went outdoors a few times or not, and saw trees and stuff like that. I can't remember, because I think I did, but some of that experience already faded away. But anyway, so basically, most of the experience, I was just roaming around this restaurant, and I was watching, and it definitely felt like another country. I didn't feel like I was in the United States or anything. I definitely felt like I was in, foreign country, Cambodia, and of course it felt like a different dimension, because these lucid dreams, they feel really cool, like you're in a different dimension. Okay, so I was walking around this restaurant, watching the female cook and kitchen cleaner. She was also kitchen cleanup, and she was kind of older, probably 60. And then the man, the other cook, the chef or whatever, he was also older, probably about 60. And they both had short, dark brown hair, and they both looked very, very Asian, very, very not Chinese, but Cambodian. And like I said, I was just watching Create TV where that guy was in Cambodia/Vietnam. And so let me see if I did write it down. I don't think I did, because I forgot to write it down. So that's why I forgot a lot already. Oh crap. Okay, hold on. Because I don't think I did. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I did. Let's see. The ones yesterday, they were a lot of fun. But that one was a lot of fun too, though. I don't think I did. Okay, so anyway, but I meant to, I just forgot. Okay, so So anyway, so I was just observing and observing, and then finally I watched the chef like very, very clearly. It was very vivid. Like he was like chopping up the vegetables, and the male chef, not the female, the male. He was over way over to the right of the kitchen, and then the female. Oh yeah, how could I forget this part? Well, anyway, over to the left was the female, and she was like walking around the kitchen and stuff. And then it seemed like the stoves and stuff were over to the right, and that's where the man was, the male chef, and he almost seemed like he was the owner of the restaurant. And so he started slicing like potatoes, and it was all these different colors. When he gave me the plate of food, it was like a lot of vegetables and stuff, and I can't even remember what there was a bunch of other stuff on the plate. I can't even remember that part. But anyway, all the vegetables and stuff were like very, very clear. So he like chopped them up, he like cubed them up like a bunch of potatoes and like yellow, I guess it was squash, I don't know, like yellow squash, orange squash, like red peppers, and it was all these different colors. And like I said, he put like a big old massive amount on my plate. But there was like some other kind of food too, and I can't remember. I think it was some kind of meat or something, but I can't remember. And anyway, but the funny thing is, he put blue lotus leaves. The blue lotus leaves were all in the vegetables. And so I was sitting there looking down at my plate. He finally handed me the plate. And then after I ate all the vegetables, well, I ate at least 1/3 of the vegetables and stuff. After I ate all that, he asked me, "How do you like Taiwanese food?" And that's kind of funny because I was in Cambodia. I think, sometimes the aliens, they just kind of get confused, you know what I mean? Because I don't think the Cambodian food, that would be called Taiwanese food. That would be in Taiwan or whatever. But anyway, so that was kind of funny because that part didn't really make sense, but he asked me, how do I like Taiwanese food? And I can't remember if I said anything. I think I did. Oh, well, I can't remember if I said it to myself out loud or if I said it to him. But, because like I say, I forgot to write it down, and so it already faded away, a lot of it. But anyway, so as I was eating all these colorful vegetables, I started picking out the lotus leaves, the blue, purplish lotus leaves. And I started like eating them. And I can tell what they taste. I mean, I totally tasted them and everything. But it was very mild, that they were very, very bland tasting. And I told him, I was like, wow, I'm surprised that these lotus leaves are very bland. I thought they would have more flavor. And then he was just kind of like, I think he said something about them. Like, oh yeah, they're kind of bland, they're not real strong. But that part was kind of funny, that the blue lotus leaves that, the aliens put in the scenario. Joel, I guess it was. But anyway, because I actually used to, several years ago, I did buy some shit off the internet that you're supposed to make like tea and stuff with. And one of the things was a bag of blue purplish lotus leaves. And so that's why Joel put those lotus leaves in my dish. That's why he created it like that. And like I say, I'm forgetting like 70% of this fucker because like I say, they haven't been giving me real good experiences where I can remember 100% years away or whatever. I mean, I gotta write them down fast or I'll start forgetting the ones that I've been getting like recently. But anyway, that one was a lot of fun. But the blue lotus leaves, that was kind of cool. And like I say, I was, and in real life, when I did try that tea, it was gross. I wasn't crazy about it. It was kind of gross, and it just kind of tasted like a flower. I mean, yeah, it was mild tasting, you know what I mean? And in the scenario, like I say, it was just very bland and mild tasting. And because I was picking them out because I was fascinated with the purplish blue lotus leaves. But anyway, after I ate all the vegetables, or most of all the vegetables and stuff, all that colorful, massive, big old glob, I mean, it was like a big, massive portion on my plate, all different colors, yellow, orange, red, white, and then the blue lotus leaves. He asked me how do I like Taiwanese food? But anyway, okay, so that was that experience. And then yesterday I had 3 of them. Well, the first 2 were a lot better than the third one, but anyway, I remember them pretty clearly. And so the first one, and I didn't even realize till after I woke up, I was like, wait a minute. Okay, that same scenario in England in that bed and breakfast, it was real close to another scene several years ago when they set up a scenario for me and stuck me in England. And most of the experience, I was hanging around the bed and breakfast, inside the bed and breakfast, and a couple times I do remember going outside, outside the bed and breakfast. And this scenario was like almost exact, but it wasn't 100%. That exact, the one several years ago, it was like that man and woman host that was, in the scenario, like in real life, like when I went to England, it was that man and woman. Okay, but in this scenario yesterday, the host, I was in England, and it's like we were getting ready to go on a, crop circle tour, but we never did. And the host was my uncle, my Aunt Elaine, and my Uncle John. And they were there walking around, the bed and breakfast, but I never did really, see them, but I knew, I felt them. I knew they were in the other rooms and stuff. And so, let's see, this one I did write down. But anyway, okay, so, oh yeah, those I didn't even talk about yet. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so I went to England, and I was roaming around this bed and breakfast where my uncle and my aunt were the hosts. And basically, they told us, oh, whenever you get up, just go help yourself to the cereal or whatever. And oh my God, there was at least, 15 other people, in this kitchen. And so I started walking around and looking through the cabinets, looking for some cereal. Okay, hot dogs, breakfast. So anyway, the grocery. But basically, I opened up one cabinet, and it's like I was looking for Cheerios, and I finally saw like a big box of fruity Cheerios, and then I realized, well, once upon a time, it seemed like there was, it used to be a full box of Cheerios, and then all of a sudden, I noticed the box looked empty. So then I saw some like Apple Jacks in the cabinets, and then I ended up getting a box of, I ended up getting a box of plain-looking Cheerios, which seemed to be Honey Nut. Okay, I was eating them, and they tasted sweet, and I was looking at the ingredients to see if they were safe to eat, but I was already eating them, and I wasn't having any reaction or anything, but I was trying to look for the ingredients, and I couldn't seem to really read them very well. But I did finally find a full box of like Honey Nut sweet Cheerios, and so I started eating those. And I told one of the guests, like I say, there's 15 people walking around this bed and breakfast in the kitchen, get ready to serve themselves, cereal or whatever. And I told one of the guests I really needed to eat some eggs or something, and instead of like all carbs or whatever. And he said, "Oh, I'm sure there are some eggs in the fridge." And so and there seemed to be about 2 or 3 refrigerators, in the scenario. And so I opened up one fridge, and okay, here it is. There was like at least 3 to 4 refrigerators in this big old kitchen, and it was a pretty big bed and breakfast. And I know the alien tried to make it kind of similar to the bed and breakfast that I really went to in England. Because I could tell, in the scenario, he did try to make it similar, and it seemed kind of like a much older, building. I mean, a much older house or whatever, which in real life it was like, 1400s or whatever that they built that thing. And in the scenario, it seemed kind of older and everything. The house, and looked older. But anyway, so I opened up one refrigerator, and way in the back of the refrigerator, I saw like one very large egg just sitting there in the back of the fridge. I didn't see any 12 or 18 egg, cartons. But the funny thing is, I asked Joel to take me to England, and he did. That's the scenario he gave me. And then I said, I had almost exact experience years ago, but I didn't realize that till I woke up and started to think about the experience. Like I say, except except in that experience, it was the man and woman hosts, in real life. And this time, that time, the house was much older, and we were in the countryside, by the way, the countryside. Okay, and in this experience, I actually wasn't, I wrote down, I actually wasn't sure if it was a much older house or not, but, because like I say, these are like C- experiences, but, yeah, so in this experience, I wasn't actually quite sure if the house was really old or not, but it did feel like we were in the countryside, like, for sure. And for this, I didn't really know, I just assumed that, it was a much older house. Okay, and one familiar woman who was also walking around was kind of stocky and had long, dark brown hair, and it was telling me all the trips she was going to go on. Then she just upped and walked off, and I was mad that she didn't ask me to go. And like I say, in the scenario, I didn't see my aunt or uncle in the experience, but like I felt them, that they were around. They were there off in the other rooms. Okay, and then, let's see, and I didn't see my... Oh yeah, okay, and then another time, as I was walking around the kitchen, eating and stuff, with the many other guests, I was standing over there on the other opposite side of where the refrigerators were, and I was like, ew, John is laid back, which is my uncle. John is laid back and a people person, and I wouldn't want all these people, all up in my house, you know what I mean? I was thinking that, or no, actually, many other guests, and I was like, yeah, I actually said that to one of the male guests walking around. And then, let me see, and then the other part, helping ourselves, anyway, but we were basically just helping ourselves. The cereal, basically, there was a whole bunch of cereal boxes. Some of them were empty and some of them weren't. But anyway, and, these are pretty big cabinets, too. But anyway, this was funny. One familiar, he was a familiar-looking guy, definitely somebody I knew before. One familiar-looking guy walked off. He went over there to the, I was standing there. To the right of me, was the refrigerators and the cabinets, and I saw one familiar-looking guy. He walked off, over to the right and got his food, and then when he walked back the opposite direction, right by me, I looked down at his little, white bowl, and he had like a hot dog sticking out of his bowl, and then as far as I remember, there were beans. It was beans, and on the bottom of the hot dog. But he was just basically telling me he just wanted to hurry and get his stuff and sit down and eat. I thought that was kind of funny, but that's kind of gross to eat, hot dog for breakfast. But anyway, and then I wrote down, like when I saw the hot dog, I was like, gross, that is gross to eat that for breakfast. I didn't say that out loud, I was thinking that in my head, in the scenario. But like I say, everybody else was looking for cereal and stuff in this huge kitchen. Oh yeah, and it did seem like it was like almost like two big kitchens put together. Okay, hosts were my Aunt Elaine, Uncle John. I think I already said everything. Hot dogs are so damn toxic. I mean, you don't realize that when you're younger. But when your taste buds and stuff heighten, I mean, it just, if you try to smell a hot dog or taste a hot dog, it tastes like freaking petroleum. Because it is petroleum. Everybody else, a huge kitchen, see the two. I was looking for fruity Cheerios. I think I already said everything. But anyway, this experience, I did ask Joel to take me to England. So this is what he gave me. Yeah, so in this experience, I wasn't really sure if the house was really like old or not. But I did feel like I was in the countryside. These people in my house. Okay, yeah, so I already said everything. Okay, this experience was a few weeks ago. I haven't talked about that one yet. Fire station. Okay, let me see. Okay, so in this other experience, okay, so that was the first one, the England one. And then the second one, Joel, me and Angie were driving down the street. And in the scenario, it was that exact street, up the street where the fire station is, that leads to the bookstore, but we were going in the opposite direction, like down the street. As we went down the street, and like I say, there really wasn't any other houses or fire stations or anything like that around. It was just that one house with a female living in it, and she had, so basically we were driving down the street. Over to the left, I came to a stop, because over to the left, basically right in the freaking street, there were two big dressers that somebody put out, that woman over to the left was one house. I can't remember if I remembered seeing the house or not. I think I did see a glimpse of it. But that was basically the only house on that whole street. And there was one woman living in it, like a younger woman. And she had put out two dressers, to go to the dumpsters to put in the trash, for the trashmen to pick up the dressers. And so me and Angie, so anyway, I was driving and I came to a stop. And so me and Angie got out and started rummaging. The end of the scenario is weird, but anyway, because like I say, I did ask Joel to put Angie in my experience. And so he did, and she looked healthy and everything in experience. And she looked, about 55, 58 years old. And so me and her started rummaging through. Okay, this is where I'll start kind of reading a little bit. Up the street, led Barnes & Noble fire station. And this scenario, it also felt like this didn't feel like 3D. It felt like totally different dimension, and the street felt different and everything. And we were driving down the street. I was driving. All of a sudden, I stopped, since at the left side of the road, somebody was throwing away lots of stuff and two huge wood dressers. And I just somehow knew there was like a woman living in that house by herself. And I had a glimpse of like what I thought she looked like. I never actually saw her, but I had a glimpse of what I thought she looked like. And she had blonde hair. But yeah, that's kind of weird, because sometimes the aliens just kind of program it like that. Like you already know what they look like and stuff, but they don't actually show you the person. And like I say, I asked Joel to put Angie in my experience, and he did. Okay, so me and her started going through the dressers. Okay, okay, well, before, I wrote it down backwards, but actually it started out when I rummaged through the left dresser that was sitting there on the left. And this is kind of funny. I started seeing a bunch of turtle shells, like dead, clean turtle shells, and they were very odd looking. There was like, they were bones, but they were shells, but they were odd looking shells. Some of them looked more like bones, and they were really white looking. And so I saw a bunch of those in the dresser, and that was the dresser to the left. And then all of a sudden, I saw two live turtles. They were real turtles, live turtles, and a young small turtle. There was like one baby turtle that looked to be about 2 years old, about as big as the little part, the round circle in my hand or whatever, kind of small like that. And but the two turtles, the male and female, they were mating. They were mating inside this dresser. And the funny thing is, I picked the male up, and he had this funny looking, like malevolent looking face. His eyes were like slanted. It didn't look like a normal turtle face. The aliens have a way of, altering things. And so yeah, it looked really weird, his face, and I kept thinking that turtle was gonna bite me. But he had this really weird eyes, like really big and slanted, almost like Japanese turtle or something. And he seemed kind of like malevolent, and I kept thinking he was gonna bite me, but he never did. So anyway, I knew eventually, I had to go ahead and take those turtles and put them in the car, which I did. And I also took some of the turtle shells with me because I wanted those. And then we started rummaging around, on the right side, or the dresser on the right side, and there was a lot of papers and stuff in there, and then I started seeing like a gold IRS name badge, and this part is kind of funny. Okay, so anyway, I stopped starting to go do, and all of this was very, very, very vivid. Okay, right there, so that's still put Angie my experience. Okay, so as we started rummaging through the right side, the dresser on the right, and it was like, we were rummaging through the top drawers, like the two top drawers we were rummaging through. And so we started rummaging through the dresser on the right. And then I saw a palette of colorful used eyeshadow. And so then I knew that I wanted that. So I stuck that in the back of the trunk. And I was like, I'm going to keep this. And that was in the dresser to the right. So I decided to keep that. And I also, like I said, I put the turtle shells. I saw a little turtle. Yeah, I put some of those in the trunk. And then I also put the 3 live turtles, in the car. And like I said, the bones, the turtle shell bones, aka bones, they were odd looking and they were very bright white looking. Then I saw the 2, real adult turtles, and they were mating. And then the young small turtle to the left of them, and I went ahead and put them in the cart. Okay, so after I saw the palette of eyeshadow, the colorful eyeshadow, I knew that I wanted it, so I put it in the cart. And then I started rummaging around some more, and I saw 2 gold name badges, IRS old, name badges. And this was kind of funny because this was all very, very vivid. One of the names on the badge, it said John Jesse. And I was like, wow, I never heard of that name. That must have been years ago when he worked for the IRS. I gathered that I gathered that the woman who put the dressers out, out to the trash, that lived in that little house, like that was her dad, and that he was already retired and probably dead and everything. And because that was a name that's, in the scenario, I knew that was never a name that ever worked at that office, in real life or whatever. In the scenario, I knew like that was a name that had never worked at the office, in real life, even though I was under the scenario. And then there was another gold name badge, and it said something, okay, it said, where did I write that down? Okay, garbage and that is in the dresser on the right. I rummaged through it again. Okay, so I rummaged through the dresser on the right again and saw an old IRS gold name badge, and it said, I can't remember the first name, but it said Ward, W-A-R-D. In real life, there is a Ward that works for the IRS, but he works at home now. And so in the scenario, I knew that that was a familiar name, even though I was, under the scenario and wasn't in real life. Okay, and like I say, there was a bunch of papers too in the top, and those 2, top drawers. There's a bunch of papers. Anyway, when I saw the name John Jesse, I was like, wow, I have never heard of that name. That must have been years ago. He worked for the IRS. I gathered that the woman who put the dressers out to the trash, that was her dad, and that he probably is dead now, and she was probably getting rid of some of his crap. After putting the live turtles and shells in the back of the car, we drove back down the street, and I looked to the left and to the right because I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to let these turtles go. And then it was like nothing but just empty land, but it was just all mud and dirt, and it was like reddish clay. It looked like clay, and there was very, very little grass. That was very gross and very vivid. But I knew I didn't want to let the turtles go in an area like that where it was mostly like clay and no grass, and it was muddy and dirty. It was so weird. So anyway, we drove back down the street, and I saw a little small grassy area where I put the turtles. Oh, well, that was after I saw how there was no safe place to put the turtles. And yeah, so at first I looked, to my left and to the right before we started driving down the street, and it was nothing but, it just looked like a bunch of bulldozers, was getting ready to build on the land, and it was mainly just dirt and clay and wet. It was wet, and there was very little grass. So then we started driving back down the street, And then I saw a little small grassy area, and that's when I let the turtles go. And then I realized I started seeing a bunch of cars, and then I thought, no, that's not a good place to put them. So, I picked them back up again, and eventually I found another area down the street where it was like a big, big, big area, and there was like probably at least 500 turtles roaming around. And that's where I let the turtles go, in that safe, bigger area. But that part was kind of funny. Yeah, so finally I found a bigger grassy area, and there were tons of turtles walking around, and I knew that would be a good spot to release those 3 turtles. Okay, and then the other part, at the end of the scenario, I was thinking I couldn't understand why Angie was still alive. I asked her, I thought you died, and I sat there and watched you die. And she was like, well, I did it, and I got myself better, and now I'm doing good. And so, in the end of the scenario, that part was kind of bizarre because I couldn't understand why she was with me, because I knew that she was dead in real life. And so I was kind of confused about that. And so that was really bizarre. Okay, and then me and her, we went ahead and we were driving to Mexican Villa restaurant. And then I had the vision, vision of us sitting there eating, pigging out on the Mexican food at a particular table. And that exact scene, the aliens had put in another scenario before, years ago. That exact little scene, that exact part of the restaurant was nothing like in real life. But anyway, that was a fun experience. Let me make sure I said everything. But yeah, the freaking dressers were basically just right there in the middle of in the road. And those roads are very, very narrow. But that was funny. The 2 adult turtles, they were actually mating. That was kind of funny. And they were hidden, because they were inside the dresser. And I know the aliens, I know Joel put that in there because a lot of times I'll go out into the yard and my turtles are mating under something and you can't even see them, They're very, very discreet sometimes. I took them, placed them in the cart before. But the face on that turtle was so weird looking. It did not look like a typical turtle face, and I was afraid he was going to bite me. I was wondering where I was going to let them go. The whole left side of the road, right, was nothing but mostly reddish, muddy clay, and the pastures, the big old pastures or whatever, was huge, but there was little grass. I mean, there was no buildings whatsoever except for that one little house that put the dressers out in the middle of the freaking road for the trash man to come get them. Just empty, muddy, reddish clay. There were no houses or anything, just empty, muddy, reddish clay pastures. Like they were about to build on that land or something. And the dresser, I remember it was an old IRS name. Something. Anyway, when I saw the name John Jesse, I was like, well, I never heard of that. Okay, after putting the live turtles in shells, back of the car, drove down the street, a little small grassy area, put the turtle. Finally, I found a bigger grassy area. There were tons of turtles walking around, and I knew that would be a good spot to release those 3 turtles. I couldn't understand why Angie was still alive. I thought you died, and I didn't, and I got myself better. But that part was so freaking weird and bizarre. So, okay, yeah, so I said everything. The next one was to a pizza shop / bakery shop. The next scenario, but yeah, the aliens can put, dead people in your scenarios, and they seem very, very, very real, very, very, very alive. So when you wake up, you're going to think, oh, my Angie came to me. She was in my dream. You know what I'm saying? But it's not really them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess sometimes maybe they really do come to people's, well, maybe not dreams, but like that split second. Well, I mean that split second, like before you fall asleep. That's probably most likely when you're going to see them, because the aliens, they pretty much always create dreams and stuff for you. Like my spirit guide, that wasn't in a dream. That she was freaking real, and she came to me not in a dream state. That was like a split second before I fell asleep. That was like virtual reality state. But I haven't talked about that experience yet. But anyway, so the third scenario I had yesterday, I went to a pizza shop / bakery shop. Well, basically, I was there to get a pizza. And then I went over to the left side of the shop, and there was basically, it was half bakery. And I looked, behind the glass or plastic cases or whatever. And it was, like I said, it was very vivid. I saw all sorts of croissants, apple turnovers, cherry pie, cobbler behind the glass case. And I was staring at them intently. I was debating what to get my mom and dad, and I knew he liked cherry. They didn't have any peach, which is what I kind of wanted to see as well. I wanted to see some peach, but they seem to only have apple and cherry. And I know the aliens, I know Joel designed it like that too, because in real life, like you'll always find cherry or apple, but you never find peach. You know what I'm saying? In real life, so that's why he designed it like that. So anyway, so they didn't have any peach croissants or anything like that. And okay, so at one point I started eating, and I walked around for quite a while in this restaurant and everything. And I did get a pizza, and I started eating on the pizza. I started picking off all the cheese. And then I started to go over there where the bakery was. And then at one point, there was a pastry in my hand, and I started eating off the crust of the pie, the little piece of pie that I bought. I was happy that I wasn't reacting to the wheat, because I was like kind of, pigging out on it and stuff. I told the cashier I wanted cherry pie and an apple turnover. Then I had to go get my purse out in the car. So I walked out the door. I turned back behind. I turned around and actually went out the door, and then I walked back in, and I had my purse over my shoulder, and I pulled out my wallet. As I was standing there to buy my stuff, I looked down, and water started dripping out of my wallet. It just started dripping out of my wallet. And this wallet was the exact same one that I have in real life that was in the scenario. And there was a guy standing there too, waiting to get some pastries, and he saw me, with all the water running out of it, and I was like, whoops. And but there was a reason why there was water, and now I can't even remember. I don't know if it was raining outside. I can't remember that part. But when I took out my wallet, there was like a quart of water that dripped out of the wallet. It was so funny. But anyway, so I was like, whoops, because this guy kind of saw me with all the water dripping out. Because I had my wallet kind of holding down, to try to get all the water out. Okay, so I got out my credit card, which was red. Then the cashier asked, and like I said, all of this was very vivid. I got out my credit card, which was red. Then the cashier asked if I had a picture to compare it to tell that was me. And I was kind of like, why do you need another card when my picture's on there? She also said, wow. Oh yeah, she looked down at one of the pictures, on the card, and she said, wow, that's a good, happy picture, of me. And I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, whatever. Then I noticed, she was just basically saying, oh, that's a good picture of you. And, I know why Joe put that in there, because one time when I went to the DMV, she was like, that's a good picture. And I was like, okay, well, thanks. When I went to the DMV, okay, anyway, my driver's license, but anyway, then I noticed they put my bag of pastries in the bag, and way in the back, on the shelf, because I had to go out and get my wallet. So they placed, my couple of pastries that I bought in this big old white, bag. I saw it back there on the shelf. I was afraid they mixed up the bags. I was afraid they were going to mix up the bag with somebody else's stuff. And I remembered that I had my debit card with the picture, and I got it out, and I showed her that debit card also had my picture on it, so that proved that was me. But it's like she wanted two forms of identification. That part was kind of funny. The aliens have wild imagination. But anyway, that was a fun experience too, but the other two were probably a little more fun. The other two were a lot longer too. This one was probably a little shorter, but it was still pretty long. But anyway, that was to the pizza shop / bakery shop. But now, for whatever reason, man, I eat food 100% of the time in my scenarios. I don't know why, but it's kind of fun. Okay, well, thanks for listening.